why don't we just start by, introducing ourselves? Maybe Karen, you can, kick off first.
So thank you very much, Kelvin, and thank you very much for NCFA and Invest Hong Kong for giving us this opportunity to share more about our journey. So my name is Karen Contet. I'm the co-founder and CEO of AngelHub and also co-founder of WHub. So basically, we started here in Hong Kong in 2014. When the tech community was really only at the beginning, and we developed what became the biggest tech community and platform here in Hong Kong in order to scale in Southeast Asia. And after building such a platform that is providing tech companies, the resources they need to grow, we decided to launch AngelHub, which is a tech investment platform in order to provide more capital power to tech companies here in the region. So basically, if you are a tech company fundraising, scaling in Asia, Series A or B, come to us, and we'll see how we can work together.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about AngelHub and WHub. Very, very great presence, especially in the startup space. So a very quick intro about me. So how I'm associated with Canada is essentially, I was born in Toronto, but I grew up in Hong Kong until I was 15. And I went back to do my high school. I studied university at Western Ontario at Ivy Business School. So, and then I came back right away and worked in investment banking until late 2017, I started Wizpresso. So essentially we are a Hong Kong-based tech company that specializes in offering deep learning and natural language processing solutions for capital markets. So we serve investment banks, we serve lawyers and other practitioners within the space to augment different capital markets workflow. So we are not essentially a fintech doing payments and traditional blockchain. We're more, I sometimes talk about RegTech because we work on how we can improve different sort of regulatory disclosures, how we can promote transparency. So we have products in market research as well as IPO due diligence. So that's a very quick background on myself. But I think what's common for both of us is that we both came from an investment banking background. We both studied in Canada for a period of time. Now, Karen, how do you feel doing a startup and being able to succeed in Hong Kong? What's your pains and experience?
I studied in Montreal. Actually, I have an engineering degree from ETS. An engineering school in Montreal. And then after I went to investment banking in Japan and moved to Hong Kong and then switched to entrepreneurship. I never really thought I would become an entrepreneur. It's more like, you have a mission and a passion and you really want to jump into it and to develop it. And then, you start to becoming an entrepreneur. I think Hong Kong is a very diverse tech ecosystem. So providing the opportunity for foreigners like me to be here and to be part of this ecosystem and really to have a role to play in it. So I feel really lucky. And Hong Kong is really one of the hub here in Asia in order really to start your business. So it's really easy to do business, to set up your business as well. You have a really large pool of talent. I think the fact that we both come from, investment banking actually says a lot. And you have a lot of talents that are coming from the investment banking and that are switching to tech companies and to fintech in general as well. Fintech in Hong Kong is actually only 20% of the ecosystem. So it's big, and we talk a lot about fintech in Hong Kong. But once again, the good thing about Hong Kong, it's a diversity, right? Which is a key aspect when you want to develop a business and scale from it. So it's a good place to start and to target the rest of Asia. I think the pain point is always recruiting the right talent, but that's the same everywhere. But still, we are lucky here to have a large pool of international talents, financial talent as well, and tech also.
And when did you start AngelHub?
So we started AngelHub in 2017 and we launched in 2019. Actually, we are the first tech investment platform here in Hong Kong. So we are the first one and still the only one to receive the license from the SFC. So it was a new business model for them, a fintech asking to be licensed for a business that did not exist here in Hong Kong. And I think, once again, it shows how they are open for new business and how they are welcoming fintech as well. So it took us quite some time to get the license, but we did it. And since then, we've done 16 investments. Wow. From Series A up to unicorn. Actually, we invested into another fintech unicorn here in Hong Kong. We deployed about $14 million US. And it's great to be part of the tech ecosystem, not only by providing the resources tech companies need, but also to be a part of their capital and to be able to play a key role in their expansion and their growth.
Yeah, it's very hard to get an SFC's license. So for those who don't know what SFC is, it's the Securities and Futures Commission, which is the regulator for securities and trading. It's like the SEC of Hong Kong. Yeah, so I guess you're sort of similar to my when I started as well. So also 2017, and I guess what we could do is sort of compare notes. I think one of the key factor in doing or having whether a startup that can survive is timing, right? Some people do something too early and too soon, and you fail quick, or you do it too late. So I guess let's jump into how do you think the ecosystem has evolved since we've started? I guess from 2017, 5 years later, now it's 2022. What has changed? And I guess we can share some notes.
I think when we started actually in 2014, 2015, there were about 10 co-working spaces, maybe 510 companies in Hong Kong, one event per week. So it was really the beginning. If someone managed to raise $1 million, they were like a rock star, right? There were no tech conference as well here in Hong Kong, and fintech was just not even still a buzzword, but it was kind of one business model, right? You were a fintech, but there was no like wealth tech or anything else inside of it. It was really the beginning. Now, when you say you're a fintech, you're like, what type of fintech do you do? Are you in payments? Are you in reg tech? Are you in wealth tech? Are you doing a crypto? So it had evolved quite a lot, and it's one of its best aspects. It's a really fast growing ecosystem, and that is quite amazing. And I think, but maybe you can actually give more color into working in terms of a B2B type of business here in Hong Kong, which I think is one of its other key advantage.
Yeah, and I think I echo what you said. I think 5 years ago when I sort of left my job, people probably thought you are crazy, I'm crazy, why would you do that? And no one has heard about not even AI, just what fintech does. So when I try to catch up with all my friends and keep things up to date, everyone is interested, but nobody wants to pay for it. Nobody actually understands what you're doing. And I think fast forward to today, especially in B2B, the level of adoption still at its infancy, but I think it's a lot more mature compared to 3 to 5 years ago. So I think one of the things to highlight is the Fintech 2025 strategy by the Hong Kong MA, which is the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And essentially it is forcing all the banks and all the financial institutions to formulate some sort of fintech strategy by 2025. And this has really drive up the momentum, because with the regulatory support and drive, all the banks are trying to build their digital team. Even law firms are now being afraid to be left behind if they're not using technology. Compounded with a lot of remote work trends recently. In B2B, when I was doing it, this business 4 to 5 years ago, it wasn't sure who to talk to. Usually I talk to the frontline, the business side, and you talk to the managing director, they have a say in whether, should I onboard a vendor, but there was no clear process. So it's a hit and miss. So a lot of times it took a lot of time to onboard a client because there wasn't a fixed process. Nowadays, there's actually a very structured process with a lot of banks. When I talk to some of the large banks, they are proactively sourcing solutions. So they have different pain points. Some even has a system to manage pain points throughout the organization, and they're proactively looking for solutions. They're not even afraid to try. So as you know, banks are really strict on cybersecurity and vendor sort of assessment, and it takes a very long time for startup to meet these requirements. Some of the more advanced adopters would have a tiered approach or risk-based approach. So if this is just a pilot, or this is just a first stage of a very long-run collaboration, they are okay with taking a more risk-based approach. Basically, if the transaction size is under a certain size, then they're okay with waiving some of the requirements. And then they will talk again to you if the proof of concept is successful. So that, I think, is a key development in terms of in B2B. Jumping into investment and having a lot of more mature investors, I guess that has also shifted the paradigm, because the KPIs is a bit different. When you work for a bank, it's always about P&L, whether there's an ROI on something. When it comes to startup and being funded by investors, a lot of time it's about adoption and being able to attract the right talent and have that exponential hockey stick growth, right? And I guess 3 or 4 years ago, investors wasn't sure how to work with startups, so there was no standard term sheets. Things are still sort of up in the air, and the ticket size, like you said, $1 million is like a lot back then. Now startups are fighting for, or on the other hand, investors are fighting for startup deals, because I don't think there are enough startups still in Hong Kong. Despite more people coming into this space, I think it's snowballing, but not as fast as we'd like. Do you see that?
To give maybe a little bit of colors, so when just about six years ago, there were no unicorns in Hong Kong, and actually now in Hong Kong we have 12 unicorns, which makes it actually the highest density of unicorn per capita. So definitely Hong Kong companies are getting a lot of traction. And it's not only in fintech. You have logistics, you have deep tech, you have crypto, and of course you have finance as well. So you definitely see a lot of growth and momentum that is being here in the region, and especially because being in Hong Kong really enables you to tackle the rest of Southeast Asia or China, depending where you want to grow. At the beginning, as you said, there was definitely a lack of transparency in terms of fundraising and also best practices. I think that's really something that we wanted to work on as AngelHub, which is, okay, how do you bring best practices for tech companies and for investors as well? Because we are on both sides, right? We are a fintech, we are raising fund for ourselves as well, and we are investing into tech companies. So it's really important to hear both sides and to see how you work best together in order to grow the company. Because at the end, in terms of investors and tech companies, you need to have your stars aligned, right? Where do you want to go, and how do you want to plan this journey together? So transparency is definitely key, and with more and more entrepreneurs succeeding and the scene being more mature, I think we're definitely getting there. Which is really good. And you're also at a shifting point where you see serial entrepreneurs investing back into tech companies in order to grow the ecosystem. And this is usually a huge turning point for the ecosystem to scale even faster.
Okay. So I guess we've talked a lot of good things about how Hong Kong has grown and in the past few years, and how we've enjoyed some of the government policies as well as new talent. So what's some of the challenges, or you've also worked with a lot of startups who are not from Hong Kong and begin coming here. Why do you think these people are attracted to Hong Kong?
To make it the best place possible. I think, you know, one of the pros is, you know, high density, ultra connected, ease of doing business. Regulators are savvy and they want to move fast. Sometimes they cannot. So that's definitely one point. But of course, it's a really small place. It's a small city. About 8 million people, right? So if you're into B2B, especially in fintech, it's definitely the place to be because you have all the big banks that are basically here and in Singapore. So you need to be here and in Singapore. If you are more into B2C focus, it's a good place to start, to scale your business, to leverage the infrastructure, and then to move into Southeast Asia and to grow from there. So it's really about thinking of your business. What are the key points you want to work on first and scale from here? You don't have any place that is going to be perfect. One of the things that is great, as I said, is really the diversity, especially when you're coming from abroad. It's not very difficult to feel home in Hong Kong. If you're coming from Europe, if you're coming from America as well, you know, from another country, from Southeast Asia also. So that's great. In terms of the cons, it's a very expensive city. Some help, you know, from the governments or Cyberport or Science Park, of course, a few places that you can leverage. But I would say that you don't have that much help, which also is a good thing because you need to have a sustainable business in order to make it. Yeah, what about yourself? What do you think you leverage here, or what are you looking in another place maybe?
Yeah, I have been the Ivy Business School Alumni Association president a few years back. So I do help a lot of Canadians and even alumni friends coming to Hong Kong to set up. I think there's a lot of resources here that you could tap in. So there's the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. There are basically every university in Canada has a huge alumni base here, including University of Montreal, same as University of Western Ontario. I think there are over 400,000 Canadians living here. Some could be dual citizens, some are actually from Canada. But the point is, there are actually a lot of activities and community here, and we help each other out. There are also VCs that exclusively, I know, invest in Canadian health tech or fintech and so forth. So, and what you mentioned, the government support, there are some, I wouldn't rely on all of them in terms of monetary support, but they also open up a lot of networks. So Hong Kong startup community, I think, has grown a lot, but it's still very compact. Like you said, it's a small space. So I always like to say, if you've gone to 3 or 4 key events like the FinTech Week, like different conferences, you probably meet about 60% of the people in Hong Kong. So people love meeting each other. It's very easy to set up meetings. Hong Kong is a place where people come and go. So yeah, despite rent is not the cheapest, it actually is going down a bit. So that's a silver lining, I guess. Just looking at Hong Kong is already one of the largest financial centers in the world. And we specifically support the IPO market as well. So Hong Kong is the #1 IPO market. Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Shanghai combined actually have more deals than anywhere else in the world. So with that said, we also have a huge bond market. We have a big RMB exchange here. So there is a lot of deal flow, a lot of money coming in, and I guess startups follow where the money goes, right? So with an increasing number of IPOs, especially more and more mainland companies actually picking Hong Kong as the #1 location to list, we feel there is a unique advantage being based here, especially when we have to hire engineers who understand both Chinese and English, because a lot of the disclosures are made bilingually. So it also creates a unique advantage for different players, different financial institutions to source technology locally. So that is one of the reasons why we picked Hong Kong as the headquarters. I guess our proximity to China, but also to Southeast Asia also is very attractive, and easily to Australia as well. So I guess these are very similar capital markets places where we can scale easily. And also I've also seen an increasing trend where people hire in the region, software engineers in the region from Vietnam, from Taiwan, from Malaysia as well. So actually, we have access to over half of the world population here in Hong Kong. So I guess that makes both B2B and B2C attractive if you're not afraid to venture out of your comfort zone. So I guess we are extremely bullish. We are going to stay here for the long run, and I guess it's also good to see a lot of FIs and professional services also starting to adopt more and more. And I guess that's a very good way to sort of let everyone digest how it is working in Hong Kong. Yeah. Any final remarks from you?
No, I think, if you are looking for more information about Hong Kong and its fintech scene, we actually have a white paper on WHub, on WHub.io, that will give you access to the different type of resources, a snapshot of the company that you can find here, the accelerators, the incubators, the key VC, the key people also you need to reach out. As you said, people here are very easy to reach out to. They do reply. They are usually open to meet as well. So it's a great ecosystem to be a part of. So I think, yeah, I hope that we made Hong Kong as attractive as we love it.
Yeah, agreed. Don't be afraid to reach out. I'm also a member of the IFTA, as well as we Wizpresso is an alumni of Cyberport, also part of Hong Kong Science Park and HKTDC. So that shows how connected everything is. We're part of everything. So don't be afraid to reach out to us, I guess. Check out AngelHub, WHub, great investment platform. And with that said, enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you so much for attending this. Nice to meet you. Thank you.